like any other day. It's a day of learning, a day to be inspired, a day to reflect around our journey. Inspired. Okay. All right. So I'm glad that I'll be hosting this session. And we're also glad to have a resourceful speaker whom I'm yet to introduce.
Recording in progress.
So once again, you're most welcome. Thank you so much for joining through this session. And we welcome you to the Transformational Professionals Club weekly webinar where we meet to interact and learn and grow together on various topics. We've done various topics, and today we want to handle the topic of purpose, purpose beyond the paycheck. Today we are joined by none other than Mr. Lawrence Namale. Before I share about his profile, I first came across Lawrence Namale from Facebook, where he continuously shares about purpose. I've listened to his podcast, The Life Signature, quite insightful, where he's invited quite a number of guests, but also he has also done reflections as an individual as well on the aspect of purpose. I know Lawrence Namale is an author as well, and one of the topics he's written about is the aspect of purpose. And he's also, I've seen him on various stages speaking about purpose. So Lawrence Namale is a visionary author, transformational coach, and strategic thinker whose work bridges personal mastery, spiritual depth, and leadership development. With a dynamic blend of storytelling, biblical insights, and psychological clarity, he empowers individuals and organizations to unlock purpose, resilience, and high-impact living. Lawrence is the founder of Life Signatures, a platform dedicated to helping people discover and deploy their unique significance. His voice, whether through books, speaking engagements, or digital content, ignites clarity, conviction, and encourages action in those seeking to live intentionally and leave a legacy. So we are glad to have Mr. Lawrence Namale with us today. And we're going to learn a lot from him. Mr. Lawrence Namale, you're most welcome, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation and for accepting also to speak to us, but also for the journey that you continuously do in terms of your purpose. Your purpose is to help others get to know their purpose. So it's something that is so really humbling. And I'm glad that our audience, both those that have joined through the Zoom session here, those that are joining us through YouTube, and those that will be able to watch the recording or replay of this, whatever platform it is, I believe, yeah. So you're most welcome, Lawrence.
Thank you so much, Coach.
You're welcome. So I think you can now proceed to your session. I think you have the right to share now.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just looking at the audio. I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if it's on my end or it's on your end.
Okay, maybe. Okay, let me try to mute.
1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Nice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for inviting me to have this wonderful session with you. When it comes to the subject matter of purpose, it basically is a subject that is close to my heart. The same way some things are close to your heart on in your life, that is the same way that the subject matter of purpose is close to me. I have a long story to tell on how it came about, but we don't have time to derive that. It is just that at some point in time, I've always wanted to find out, why was I born? Why am I here? Probably it is one of the most asked questions in my life. I have asked that question to myself. I believe I've asked that question to my father at some point in time. I was having a mini crisis just after high school. And my father told me, I was back then, I was living in Kenya. He told me something very interesting. He said, don't worry, the new government is coming in. We had just left the rulership of Daniel Arap Moi. And he said, don't worry, the new government is coming in and the economy is going to improve and things are going to be fine. And so that is the advice I got from my father. Then I kept searching and I kept looking and I kept, trying to make sense of life. And I've written a book out of the same journey that I have taken to the point of understanding what my purpose is in life today. My purpose basically is to inspire hope and to enrich lives of people worldwide. And I do that through, like you've heard, a daily podcast. It's called Life Signatures. In that podcast, I talk about purpose, I talk about productivity, and I talk about resilience. Three important topics in our lives. Purpose gives us direction where we are supposed to go. Productivity is obvious. I believe that one of the biggest reasons for our existence is to be productive, because it is through productivity that we can impact this world of ours. Without productivity, in fact, by the way, it is very hard to find us human beings fulfilled when we are not productive. I might buy a car, I might buy a house, I might have everything that money can buy, but as long as I don't produce, as long as I don't do things, as long as I don't impact, there's always going to be a void inside of my heart. So I talk about productivity, but I also talk about resilience in that podcast. Resilience is important because we are living in a fallen, dark world. In other words, sometimes, in fact, what I'm discussing in the podcast right now, I've not published yet, but what I'm recording the idea of having a lull, or you're coming to a place where you are passionate about something and you're no longer passionate about it. You're coming to a place where you have your purpose is in a slump of sorts. And I say that one of the reasons as to why that is the case is because there is a difference between your projection, your expectations of life, and the reality that life gives you. If you can't handle that easily, especially if you're in the startup world, you're expecting customers to line up and you're expecting things to be smooth, you face reality sooner or later. And if you're not careful, that reality can easily make you think that your purpose is not needed. It can make you think that you're not, people are not interested in you and so on. And you can abort your idea. I remember aborting an idea that I had in the year 2010. In 2010, I was coaching people on my framework of coaching people is called Life by Design. So I was coaching people, and every time I will coach, they will tell me, I wish someone taught me these things earlier. And it was one person after the next, and it just caught my attention. And I said, wait a minute, something has got to be done about this. And ladies and gentlemen, every time you catch yourself saying that statement, that someone needs to do something about this, it could be an indication that you are the one who is supposed to do it, because you are the one who was noticed, not other people. You are the one, it has come to your attention. And so I used to do that, and people would give me that feedback, and I said, something has got to be done. And the only thing that has got to be done is we need to teach children, young kids who are coming up, these concepts that I was teaching people about life by design. That if we don't teach our children right now, then they would still be giving feedback, the same feedback that I was giving to people or I was getting from people. And I thought you can't just teach children, probably you need to instruct their parents. So you need to develop a homeschool mentoring curriculum for parents to be able to use. And when parents are using it, they augment what is being taught in school. And you just structure it in such a way that it can be done on the dinner table. It can be done when you're driving to work or driving to school, whatever it is. But the parents, I figure that they didn't have that information. They didn't have the concepts. I created a book. I wrote 110,000, I think 110,000 words, yes, which my editor told me those are 2 books. I called that book Permission for Greatness. I changed that book later on and I called it Changing or what was it called? Raising the Inner Game of Your Child. So I approached one of my mentors and they told me, Lawrence, you are unmarried and you don't have a child. You have no business trying to tell parents how to parent their kids when you have no prototype. And so I benched that particular thing. 2010. Now, guess what, guys? In 2019, something happens. What happens? In 2019, COVID-19 comes and it sends all the children to their parents. And the parents start asking themselves, what are we going to do with these people? Someone somewhere in 2010, 9 years or 10 years earlier, had an idea of what they're supposed to do, but he didn't follow through. That's the same thing. This platform we're using called Zoom, some of us are on Zoom. This platform, they were faithful with their purpose. When COVID-19 hit, their growth went to more than 3,000%, if I get my facts correct. My point I was making is that your purpose sometimes is not for end month. It is not for the end of the month. Your idea or your purpose could be for the next 5 years. Nobody understands it. It doesn't make sense to you, even you. It doesn't make sense to the world right now, but it is an idea that God has put in your mind. Why you? Why is it that it is you dwindling with that idea? Why is it that it has come to you as an individual? Sometimes it is not for now. Sometimes it is for the future. So we need to learn. Our topic today is, what are we talking about, Samuel? We're talking about purpose beyond the paycheck. And I think I've done good.
Exactly.
I've done a good, good service to that topic when I've done the introduction, that beyond your paycheck, there is purpose. And Samuel, I know you have the sharing rights. I don't know if the poll is ready. Did we prepare the poll?
Yes, we did.
Yes, let's just do the poll right now, and then we're going to learn from it later. If you could just share with us the poll.
Okay. What is the poll like this is? So, okay. The poll is live. I don't know. I think people can see it.
Please go ahead and poll. Remember, we are not going to give you marks. This is just for you to reflect upon and find out. If you can be able to see the poll on your screen, please vote for it. If you're on If you are on Zoom, just vote.
Okay, for those that are on YouTube, the question is, what was the primary reason you chose your current path? So the first option is I followed my passion or interests. The next one is I chose based on financial stability or income potential. I was influenced by family or mentors or social expectations. I stumbled into it or took the opportunity that came first. I felt a strong sense of purpose or calling. So you can use any of those to just reflect and put that in the chat box. What was the primary reason you chose your current path? So the findings are coming through here. We see a lot of people. Okay, well, Lawrence, how many minutes so far we can give the poll?
Just 1 minute, and then we end.
Okay, so 1 minute.
But let me just add a caveat here. Sometimes when you're answering some of these polls, sometimes you might be answering influenced by the topic of the day. We are not asking you to do that. We're just asking you to be truthful to yourself, because we're not going to mark this. This is not going to be examined. It is just you being truthful to yourself. So answer as truthfully as you can.
Okay, we have 80% participation. This is good. Yeah. So we will end the poll.
Yes, please.
All right. The results. So
Okay. So our results, this is a random poll that we've just done. 41% of us say that they followed their passion or their interests. Another 41, they say they chose based on financial stability or income potential. I can identify with that. When I was doing management information systems at the Kenya School of Monetary Studies, my father, who was taking me there, and he was wearing a collar as a priest, he asked those guys, the administration, are there jobs? Are there jobs with this course he's going to take? And they said, yeah, there are many jobs and so on. Anyway, some 29%, they're saying they were influenced by family, their mentors, and societal expectations. And then 18%, they say, I stumbled into it or took the opportunity that came fast. Very interesting. And then a paltry 18%, they say, I felt a strong sense of purpose or calling. Great. The second part of this poll was, do you feel fulfilled in your current career? We have a good, very interesting, 53% are saying yes, they are fulfilled. Very interesting statistic. They are a random statistic. Now, the rest is, you guys are the mathematicians. What is 53 minus 100? That is 47. 47% are not necessarily fulfilled, because yes is the strong, either it's a yes or no. The others were just putting there so that you can be able to, play around with your results. 20% are saying no, they are not fulfilled. And then 27% are saying sometimes they are not fulfilled. The interesting part is that 18% of our people are saying that they started their career because of their purpose or calling. The rest didn't. So, Samuel, you chose a good topic for us to discuss. I think I can close that. I don't know if those results are are stored somewhere. I'm not so sure about that. But I'm going to share my screen. I hope I can be able to get it.
Yes,
Okay.
you have the right.
I'm looking for a place where I can be
The
able
share
to.
button is the one that's green, the one that has an arrow up.
Right, I've seen it.
Yep.
I hope you can be able to see my screen.
Yes.
All right. So our topic is purpose beyond the paycheck. Before I can even start talking about this presentation that I've put on the screen, anyway, let me just go ahead and say this, that I think one of the most beautiful things is that you and I are professionals. In other words, we have something that we are doing. Regardless of the poll results that we've had, we have something that we are doing. In other words, we have, someone can say, a foot in the door. And secondly, we, in other words, have a platform from which we can be able to navigate towards our purpose. Remember, your purpose is not an event. And I'm going to extrapolate that even as we continue. Your purpose is a journey. The knowing it, the doing it, it is a journey. In fact, sometimes the knowing can be a journey. You will not go to a place, maybe in a church, and then a prophet says, "Oh, I saw God calling you to be an accountant," or "I saw God calling you to be A, B, C, and D." It is personal, it's a personal journey. Sometimes, purpose being a spiritual element in our lives, sometimes we relegate it to men of God, esoteric, we want an anointed man of God to reveal it to us. And then we want another anointed woman of God to confirm. As long as those ones have not done it, we don't feel like this is my purpose. And so we shrink away from it. And therefore, what we have left is to do what our poll results have shown us. We do what it is that brings us money at the end of the month, a paycheck. Which paycheck, if you look at it at the end of the day, does it translate to you having a purpose? Some people have said sometimes, some people have said yes, some people have said no. And that's what I want us to continue discussing in this. All right. Now, Samuel, I hope you told our people to come with pen and paper.
They are readily available. They have the pens and the papers already.
Right. Thank you so very much. What I want us to do, again, it's a personal introspection that I want us to take. It is about alignment of you and your purpose from whatever you're doing that is bringing you a paycheck. Is it aligned to your purpose? Again, as truthful as you can. This one, we're not going to project it on the screen or something, but for yourself, I want you to get a piece of paper. There are 5 questions that I want you to rate yourself, and I'm going to be giving you a question at a time. The first one is that one. The dimension we're talking about is calling alignment. Does your career reflect your divine calling or deepest convictions? Whatever it is that you're doing, does it, in your opinion, it's your own opinion, on a scale of 0 to 5, 0 meaning it doesn't, 5 meaning emphatically it does. Does your career reflect your divine calling or your deepest convictions? So on a piece of paper, just write number 1 and then put the score. The reflective question over there is this what you were made to do? Does it echo your spiritual identity? All right. Question number 2, if you are doing it, it is about the impact footprint. Now, ladies and gentlemen, purpose is always going to be about other people. It is not about me. It is not about you primarily. Our friend Simon Sinek has written a powerful book called Leaders Eat Last. That is where purpose is. We eat last when we're doing our purpose. So whatever it is that you're doing at this moment in time in your career, how many lives have you touched meaningfully? Are people transformed? Are they healed? Are they inspired? Are they empowered by your work? Again, this is not an examination. It is your personal reflection. So on a scale of 0 to 5, 0 being no, 5 being emphatically yes. Number 3, we're going to talk about the legacy, because purpose normally leaves legacy. Legacy is what you're going to be remembered for. And I have a lot to talk about legacy, but we don't have time, because sometimes people normally focus on doing their legacy, forgetting that legacy normally takes care of itself when you pursue your purpose. But the question is, are you building something that will outlive you? Okay, of course, your house will outlive you. But I'm talking about something of impact, right? Something that contributes, something that impacts, something that transforms society. Is that what you're building? What you're doing right now on a scale of 0 to 5, is it something that is going to outlive you? Is it your books? Are they your teachings, your systems, and so on? Number 4, this is a very powerful question. Miles Monroe, in his book, Overcoming Crisis, he tells us that they did a survey and they found out that a big percentage of the people who have heart attacks, they happen on a Monday. Why? Because it's on the Monday that we go to work in places where we don't have joy, we don't have energy. We are going there for the paycheck. Now, I am not in any way stepping down on having a paycheck. It is a very critical aspect of life, paycheck. But do you feel energized when you're going for your paycheck, when you're doing what it is that you're doing, when you're sitting behind the desk? Do you love what you're doing? Do you feel alive? Do you feel purposeful? In other words, can you even do it for free? If money was not in the equation, if money was not the object of your work, is this still what you will do? I think that's the joy aspect of it. And then lastly, faithfulness to your values. Are you consistently living your values in your work on a scale of 0 to 5? There are some people whose work is totally against their values, but they have to be there because of the paycheck. So do the mathematics. If you've been scoring yourself on a scale of 0 to 5, the most purposeful person here should be having a score of 25, I think. All right, so let us proceed because time is not on our side. You should calculate and get your total and just put it aside. We're going to come back to it a bit later. Look at this quote. This quote is original with me. One of the greatest paradoxes of our time is this: purpose-driven organizations are everywhere, yet many of the people working within those organizations are not living their own. We have seen that in the polls. You have seen that 47%, at least 47% of people are not living their purpose in their workplaces or where they are. We've seen a 20% where people, I can't remember the poll exactly, but there was a 20% where people do not, emphatic that they are not fulfilled at their workplace. But even as I say that, I need to add that even as we speak about paycheck, we need to understand that business, entrepreneurship, work, this is the most powerful force on the face of the earth for positive change. If it is harnessed correctly, this is by Joshen Rizitz, the former CEO of Puma. It's a very powerful statement to say that if we wanted to change our world, we change it through work. And organizations around the world, I can tell you this without battling an eyelid, most of the organizations around the world are purpose-driven organizations. They start with a purpose. If I mention MTN, it is connecting people everywhere you go. Okay, Nokia was the one that was connecting people, but you get the point. In other words, most of the organizations start with purpose. Most of the organizations we work for, multinationals, find me an organization which is a multinational that is not purpose-driven. I can't think of any. That's why most of them, they have a vision, a powerful vision. But the interesting thing here is that those of us who work in those organizations, we don't know our own purpose. The founder of Apple, the founders of Apple, were individuals just like you and I, and they started that organization on purpose. It wasn't to make money, it was on purpose, something greater than making money. Steve Jobs was once interviewed when he was still healthy. You could see his big face. And he said, I don't think money is one of the most enlightened things that has ever happened to me. Elon Musk, I remember very well, and I even did a podcast and I wrote about it. The first time they told Elon Musk that he was the richest man in the world, I remember, you can even go on his Twitter feed. He tweeted 2 words. He said, how strange. And then he went back and said, okay, back to work. In other words, money was not what he was looking for. Paycheck was not what he was looking for. He was working for purpose. And when I say that, it brings us to attention. Sometimes people normally blame motivational speakers when we talk like this. We are not saying money is not needed. We are saying that money is needed. And perhaps the greatest balancing act that you and I have to make today is putting food on the table and pursuing our purpose. Miles Monroe, in his book Overcoming Crisis, he says that 5 o'clock should be one of the most powerful times for those people who are employed, because it is the time that they can start working on themselves and working on their purpose. So businesses are important and they are powerful. But when it comes to us as individuals, if you can look at this, every organization in the world is like this. It starts with people who are in strategic level, the levels of purpose in any business. It starts with the strategic level. These are people of direction. These are people of vision. Their key focus is what and why. That's why they come up with strategic plans and they come up with policies and so on and so forth. You can say easily that people at strategic level, if you are working on a strategic level, you are very close to purpose of the business. Sometimes, by the way, it is even your own purpose. But then when we start going down to the tactical level, these are guys who are asking, how will we get to that strategic point? How will we implement this vision? How will we get to the vision? So tactical people at work, they are dealing with planning and coordination. But then there's operational guys. And I think population-wise, the operational people are the most. There are many. These ones are about execution. What must I do? In fact, the execution is for now. The plans that we make are not past a year. It is a quarter plan. Sometimes it is day by day. And therefore, if you find yourself in the tactical position, in the operational level, you might be far removed from the purpose of the organization itself, and probably even far removed from purpose in general. Unless, of course, you found a way of discovering your own purpose and you're doing the paycheck today during the day, and in the evening you're trying to run your purpose. And we need to stop calling it a hustle. When Ruto was campaigning to be the president of the Republic of Kenya, he was calling our country hustler nation. And I remember when going on TV and communicating and telling him, nobody wants to be identified as a hustler 2 years from now. Everyone wants to make it. Everyone wants to come to a place where they find their idea, they find their job, and they are cruising. They are fulfilled. They are not necessarily hustling. They are doing work that is empowering them, the work that is making a difference in society, and so on and so forth. That's what people want to do. They do not want to, for lack of a better word, they do not want to hustle. They want to make it in this life. And so if you're looking at your life and you're saying that I am at work today, I am doing work from 9 to 5, and from then on I'm going to hustle, the negative connotation of hustling is something that probably you shouldn't be proud of. You should look at your purpose and not look at your, so to speak, your hustle. I'm hearing feedback.
Where's Martin? Call me Martin. Take time to pay.
Proceed. It's very important.
All right. So let me share the screen again. The idea of hustling should be, I'm just saying this in passing, should not be something that we are so particular about. But let us proceed with this. If you look at the workplaces where we are, there are different polls that have come up. If you look at this 21% about engagement, and we have seen the poll today, it is resonating with what we are seeing on the screen. In 2025, Gallup, they state that of the global workplace, 21% of employees worldwide feel engaged at work. This is 21%. In fact, they are saying it's down from 23% in 2023. This is worldwide. That tells you that 70-something% of people are not necessarily engaged in what they are doing. We are there for a paycheck. We can find a way of filling our timesheets, and but if we were given an opportunity, we will not be there. 31%, a McKinsey study found that they have left their jobs because they have cited lack of meaningful work, or it's a clear indicator of purpose misalignment. And then 20 to 70% of those exits are voluntary, because lack of purpose is increasingly cited as a top reason for voluntary turnover. In other words, it tells us that most of us, for the most part, we are in our places of work, but we are not purposeful there. As long as we are earning our paycheck, it's fine, it's okay. Now, there is a conundrum there, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to come to terms with. The conundrum is this, that the purpose that we are pursuing or the work that we are doing today, it is not eternal. This work that we're engaged in, especially if the only reason we work is a paycheck, that work has an end date. Either the end date could be a premature because of being fired, or because the economy has tanked or something has happened, or if you push so hard, it will be because you have to retire. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're talking about retirement, you are not talking about purpose. There is no retirement in purpose, but there is retirement when the work that we are doing is for a paycheck. Very ironical, some years back, maybe 2 or 3 or 1, someone who was heading the retirement body in Uganda was supposed to retire and actually was sent on retirement. But they went to court to fight that retirement. It has an end date. If all we are doing is work for a paycheck, there is an end game, an end date with it. That's why at this moment in time, we need to start thinking about what are we going to do as far as our purpose is concerned. And if we're going to do that, I can tell you this from experience, that one of the reasons as to why we don't find our purpose is because we never look for it. We don't ask. Excuse me. And invariably, we don't ask because we already have a paycheck. As long as the paycheck is there, you don't want to ask, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Because why should I do that when I have rent is paid for, mortgage is paid for, I have savings, I have investments? Why should I even think about my my purpose? Because we are comfortable. And sometimes, if I tell you about how you can discover your purpose, sometimes you can discover your purpose through pain. When that job goes, when a crisis comes, when a setback comes, it draws you to the drawing board. You start asking existential questions. Past these statistics, purpose simply is an asset. This one I got it from business in Harvard Business Review. I used to subscribe to that magazine. It's an aspirational reason for being. It inspires action for an organization, and its partners and stakeholders, and provides benefit to the local and global society. If you're asking me, Lawrence, what is my purpose? What is purpose generally? The most rudimentary definition I can give you for purpose, it is the intention of something by the creator. The microphone has its purpose because of the creator. The creator had in mind that purpose before he created. And specifically, the creator put that capacity in that microphone to function on purpose. So I've given you a hint of where you can be able to get your purpose. It is your capacity. Natural gifts, natural talents, passions, and dispositions could indicate where your purpose is. I cannot work in the hospital. I don't want to see people suffering. My parents tried to take me to Kenya Medical Training College, something like that. That was the first time I was a rebel because I just can't stand blood. So purpose has 3 aspects. First of all, it is aspirational. In other words, it is something you really want. In other words, when we remove the paycheck, if the paycheck is sorted, what is your aspiration? This aspiration inspires action. But like we've said earlier on, this action has to be beneficial to other people. Purpose is not for you to eat fast. Purpose is for other people. It is for transformation, it's for contribution, it's for impact. So it is a calling. Calling means you are not an accident. I think you and I came here specifically as an answer for a problem that needs to be solved. That calling makes us to contribute, and we love the purpose. Remember that question we had about the joy of waking up and going to do your work? It is because you love it. You want to do it. I want to inspire people. I live to inspire people. Now, with this energy of inspiration, if you put me behind a desk to work from morning to evening without doing this, there is no conviction in what I'm doing unless what I'm doing is generating information that can inspire people. So that is what your purpose is going to be like. That is the definition of your purpose. Now, do you remember what we've just done, the poll that we've just taken? Let us do some review. If you can pull back your results. I don't know what score you got. But if your score was between 0 and 10, it simply means that your purpose alignment is low. In other words, in where you are right now in your career, you need realignment and reinvention of your purpose. Your purpose and your career are parallel. They are not meeting if your score was between 0 and 10. But if your score is between 11 and 17, then you are there a little bit. You're moderate. You need some alignment. You need to become sharp. You need to maybe do some kind of ownership, and you need to fill some gaps and go for it. But if your score was between 18 and 22, your purpose alignment is strong. And there's a room for you to actually do it full time. No retirement. This is what you can be able to depend on for the rest of your life. If it was between 23 and 25, this definitely is your transformative nature. In other words, this is what you were born to do. This is what you can do for the rest of your life. This is where you can earn your bread from. So I hope that you've done the calculations, and I hope that you've seen where you lie. And I hope it's giving you some kind of for lack of a better word, it's giving you some kind of reflection and consciousness so that you can be able to know what you can be able to do with your purpose. There are some questions that we needed to answer in this webinar today. And one of the questions is, how can I identify and connect with my true purpose? I have developed in this book, I don't know if you can see this book. It's not being seen properly because of the lighting. But if you can see this book, Lord have mercy.
Okay,
There are
with
8 steps.
I see something. I see a road, and I think it has your purpose, and
Right.
kind of a forest the other side.
Right.
Yeah,
Let me see
basically a
this.
road that is going to somewhere.
Right. It is discover your purpose. There are 8 milestones that I have written in the journey of your purpose. 8 milestones. How do you discover your purpose? The first thing, I'm just going to run through this if you're writing down. The first thing you've got to do is to decide you want to. Because if you do not decide, nothing is going to be arbitrary. Sometimes we wait for God to decide for us, wait for a prophet to come. They are not going to come. It is up to you to make a decision, draw a line in the sand. Tony Robbins says, it is in the moment of decision making that your destiny is shaped. So number 1, make a decision you want to know. And then number 2, go on an inquest. Start looking for it. Asking questions. Why am I here? You can actually do those 5 questions that Miles Monroe normally gives. Number one, who am I? Identity crisis. It is there even in tactical and strategic levels. There are some people who are guiding organizations with billion-dollar budgets, but they don't have a personal purpose because they have never gone on an inquest. So who am I? Number one. Number two, where do I come from? Very critical question. If you believe you came from a monkey, you will not find purpose an interesting topic for you because you're gonna die and that's it. Number three, what can I do? What can I do? That talks about your capacity. I can write, I can speak, I can inspire, but I cannot play football. So it will be when you guys want to do your SWOT analysis, you get your strengths, you get your weaknesses, you get your opportunities, you get your threats. It will be foolhardy for me to try to depend on football, playing football as my strength. So what can I do? My purpose is within the confines of what God put in me, the things that I can be able to do. And then number four, why am I here? That is now the purpose itself. A very high level question that probably the answers might not come in one day of asking. It will be by reflection, by looking back and so on. And then lastly, where am I going? That talks about your legacy and so on. So those are 5 questions you can be able to use when you're going on an inquest. So decide, number 1. Number 2, inquire. Ask, seek, knock. Answers hide from anything but a question. When we ask a question, we get an answer. Why don't I have $1 million? Well, have I asked that question long enough? Edison is the one who told us the reason, as either Edison or Einstein, the reason as to why I am considered smarter than anyone else is because I think I stay with problems longer. In other words, you write that question down. What is my purpose? And you stay with it longer. How can I make X amount of money in 1 month? And you stay with that question longer. That is what we call life by design. Inquest. As long as I don't ask, I'm not going to get an answer. The third thing is what I call stewardship. Stewardship is basically what you and I are doing at our jobs. In other words, what we have already right now in our hands. That I started by saying we are so blessed to have jobs because it's a platform from which we can be able to get our purpose. Ideally, our parents should have handed us some kind of inheritance where we don't need to work for money, but we are working for purpose. Sometimes we are working for money because the money is not there. Anyway, so the third thing is stewardship, meaning that we should be faithful with the answers that we've already been getting. If you start asking and you go to personality profiles, you do personality profile and it tells you that you are an interactive person, then in your workplace, you start gravitating towards assignments, even if you're doing them for free. Sometimes your organization has, events. Can you MC? Volunteer to MC, if at all, some of your answers you got from your inquest tell you that you have the capacity and the strength to MC. We have an example. Samuel, do you know an example here? The guy who used to work at MTN. I know I'm putting you in the hot seat in the deep end, but you know
I
him? Can you guess?
I know you. I know yourself. Have worked for MTN. Part of your story indicates you've worked for MTN, but I know there are also other people that on the call here that might have worked with MTN.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, so we have a very famous guy who is a comedian.
Is Salvador.
Right. That is exactly what happened. He was a steward at work at MTN. And then when he saw that there was some of these strengths that he has, he started veering off towards it. And if you listen to his story, he tells you that at some point in time, he was doing both of them until some point in time he decided to veer off completely. He went from paycheck to what you could call his purpose. That is stewardship. Stewardship means being faithful to everything that we have right now, right here and now. Now, this is very interesting because we have seen the statistics. The statistics are telling us we are not good stewards in our places of work. We are not engaged. That's why it is very difficult for us to overcome and to grow into our purpose when we are not being good stewards. And I would say this, sometimes you'd rather just take the silver bullet and step out. I know it is very controversial. Step out of that place because you're not being a good steward. Let someone else come there and you go and find something that you can be able to, or start gravitating towards your purpose. Anyway, that's number 3. But then number 4, there is going to come a place that I call convergence. Convergence means that things start aligning in terms of audiences, in terms of gigs, in terms of your capacity, in terms of what you can do. They converge into something. Now that you've been a seeker, to an extent that you tell yourself, oh, wait a minute, this is it for me. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. That is what I call convergence. Immediately convergence comes. Then one of the things that most of us don't do is what I call ownership. We don't brand ourselves with owning our purpose. We don't identify ourselves with our purpose. We say this is a side gig. It's a side hustle. And because it is not bringing us money, we don't take it seriously. Like I said, your purpose is for decades. It is not for the end of the month. So own it right now. Brand yourself accordingly. Start doing those things towards your purpose every single day on your socials and so on. Do something that is, showcase something that is about your purpose. That is convergence. But then you've got to come to a place where purpose has got to become profitable. I know purpose is spiritual, but it has got to be profitable. This is where we have a journey of purpose to profit. How do people interact with my purpose? People interact with my purpose through products like this and through services. I have created another product here. I don't know if you can see this. I know it's whatever, but this is one of the latest products that I am still, just building it up. It's a workbook for men in terms of you having good communication with your spouse, your girlfriend, or your wife. It's called the 7 personas that kill connection. If I know that my purpose is to inspire people and to have them have better lives, I must create products that are going to help. And that's why I say it again, when you are at your workplace, you are drawing money. Money is coming at the end of every month. You are sure about it. Hive off some of this money and dump it into products and into services that speak about your purpose, even as you're doing these things parallel. That is value addition. That is step number 5, I think. And then another step which is very powerful is excellence. Do things with excellence. And I know someone will say the lean startup has told us, just start. And then you will iterate as you go. Yes, start as you will iterate, but doesn't mean that you do everything like a bicycle. If you're writing a book and you're not a writer, hire a ghost writer to do it for you. You don't go on to this. There's a group I am in. It's called Copyright, by the way. I don't know. There's some guys who could be here. I mean, in that WhatsApp group, and someone was showing us they were showing us their book cover. It is done in Microsoft Word. I was like, what are you talking about? It is 2025. You cannot churn out a lackadaisical book cover. You can even do a book cover with AI but I wouldn't even advise you to do that. What I'm saying is that your purpose must have some semblance of excellence in it. And then, of course, the last portion is release, which I think your purpose being something that you can move from one generation to the next, hire a CEO that can be able to run with it and so on when the money starts coming in and so on and so forth. That is how you can be able to find your purpose. And if I can go back to the presentation and just share with you something very powerful here, that the finding of your meaning at your workplace is those things that I've been talking about. You're going to ask, you're going to seek, you're going to clarify what your purpose is. It's a journey. It starts with discovery. And then it goes to ownership. Own it. Align yourself to it. And then brand yourself accordingly as far as that is concerned. And lastly, deploy it. Don't be afraid to deploy it. I have seen a very powerful social media extract today on LinkedIn. It has 3 people. It's a video of 3 people. They are shooting a basketball. One person is just dribbling, and they are not necessarily shooting. Another one is doing absolutely nothing, but another one is trying. The first shot goes, but then he shoots again. As in, you keep shooting your shot, and there's this thing we call course correction. The first shot is going to be lousy. The first book might be lousy. The first webinar is going to be lousy. The first seminar, only one person will show up, but do another one. That is what deploying is all about. But this deploying has a target audience. You're not doing it for everyone. Purpose is not for everyone. Your purpose is not going to be consumed by everyone. You're serving a specific group of people. Do this and iterate it as you go, over and over and over again. That is how you find meaning. Now, at your place of work, you should notice that your purpose can be gauged on a daily basis. I need you to ask yourself these questions, even as you're doing your work, which is giving you a paycheck. Ask yourself, number 1, my impact here in this work that I am doing, is it aligned to my core purpose? You keep asking yourself that question. If it is not, don't panic, don't worry. You now have an answer to work with, and you can draw a strategic plan, maybe the next 5 years, the next 10 years, to start gravitating towards where your purpose is. The second question is the reach, which means the audience, the kind of people I am supposed to serve. When I am doing this work that I am doing, the people that I am serving, are they the people that are supposed to work there? Is the work I am doing significant in that it's making a contribution or impacting change? And when I am doing this work, momentarily, moment by moment, am I immersed into it? Or I just want lunch to come and 5 o'clock to come so that I can get out of here? If this is what you're doing in your life, your alignment to purpose, your reach, your significance, if you're checking those things daily, it's going to bring some consciousness in your mind that it will teach you to create a plan of action that you can be able to use for your life. Now, there are some things that I need to show you here, especially when we're talking about clarifying your purpose. There are some things here that are absolutely important. It gives you a semblance of, give me 1 minute. 1 minute, 1 minute. It gives you a semblance of what kind of purpose, or what kind of philosophy espouses the work that I do on a daily basis. What philosophy guides my action every working day? Now, we have very many job titles out there, but I'm sure if we're careful enough, we can be able to turn our job titles into purpose. For example, if you are a surgeon, How about healing with compassion? This is what I do. Not just you're telling people that, but it is in your heart of hearts. I am healing with compassion. Imagine waking up in the morning as a surgeon, and that is what is in the back of your mind, in your heart. I am going to heal. Not I am a surgeon. Look at a teacher. I am shaping destinies. A guy who has that kind of mandate over his life will teach totally differently than a guy who doesn't. How about a creator? I am inspiring transformation. How about a leader? This is big. I can spend a lot of time on leaders, but I am serving with conviction. If 20% of our leaders everywhere, not just in public, but also in private organizations will serve with conviction, will have a revolution. Nurses, I have stories upon stories to talk about nurses, but I don't have time. Comforting with grace. How about that? If you're talking about a writer, awakening with words. If you're talking about an accountant, like our friend here, what are you doing? You are stewarding with precision. If you're talking about a chef, what are you doing? You're nourishing with creativity. If you're talking about a social worker, you're restoring with dignity. A mentor, you're empowering with wisdom. So it's about looking at some of these titles that we have, even at our workplaces, and asking ourselves, what exactly am I here to do? It informs how you appear in your work and how you apply yourself. So I've answered some of the questions that we wanted to answer today, but I want us to end with this question. What are the practical ways that you and I can find fulfillment in our daily work? Now that we're talking about purpose, the first thing that I think you and I need to do, we need to plan our work. I am building different apps. I have an app that it's not an app really, but I have an Excel worksheet that I normally use to track my daily activities, so that at the end of the day, I see my graph. At the end of the month, I see my graph week on week. How productive have I been? How immersed have I been? And you know what I have learned, ladies and gentlemen? I have learned that every time I look at my graph and I look at my performance, I look at the things that I have done and how I have improved, it gives me inspiration. There are two types of inspiration. There is inspiration that comes before you do, and then there is inspiration that comes because you do. I love the second one because the first one, you sometimes are not in control of it. The second one, you are in charge of it. If you find that you're not inspired and fulfilled at work, probably you've not planned your work and you're not tracking your work. And maybe, again, your work is not aligned to your purpose. So plan and align. And then there are these distractions that normally come. Make sure that you've rooted out all the distractions from your work. A friend of mine normally tells me when he goes to sleep, he doesn't go with his room doesn't have a TV, doesn't have a phone. Eliminate distractions, beast mode. Because distractions are the ones that cause us not to finish. If you wanted to find fulfillment at your workplace, do you know what the secret is? It is to finish things. In other words, on Monday, I write a list of the things that I must finish, come rain, come shine. And the guy who is always finishing things is the guy who is most productive and the guy who is most fulfilled at the organization. So beyond your paycheck, my friends, it is a journey that you're going to take. It is a long journey that begins with consciousness in our minds to understand that the paycheck has an end date, but the purpose doesn't. The paycheck is very powerful, sometimes even in funding our purpose, giving us an opportunity to have a free mind because we're not considering bills to pay and so on, because sometimes purpose doesn't pay at the end of the month. Sometimes purpose doesn't pay at the end of the year. Sometimes purpose doesn't pay at the end of 5 years. That's why you have that job. That's why you have that gig that you're doing. It helps you to start doing these things at 5 o'clock. Money comes, you're channeling it to your alignment and so on and so forth. Samuel, I have overshot your time and I beg to stop there, but I have so much more to share. So we'll open this for the next session.
All these insights. Friends that are joining the call, please join me in thanking our speaker for the insightful sharings, especially on this subject. I knew that when I invite Lawrence, he will do justice to this topic. So thank you so much, Lawrence, for sharing about this. This topic of purpose is one that some people interpret. Some people don't believe it should actually be so, because they believe that you should follow the money. And I think you've really shared that you can actually follow the money and also follow the purpose at the same time. And I want to give this as also one of the personal examples. I'm one of those that were able to find my purpose early. And the reason why I created the Transformational Professionals Club, quite a number of people ask me, do people pay you? How do you benefit? But being able to run, I think we're in October, but for the last Friday of this year, we've had a webinar here showing up, and we're just sharing. We advertise this randomly, people come in, learn, and there's really nothing that really in terms of financial that would really that might come through. But like you said, purpose is greater, and it may not pay now, it may not pay in the 5 years, even the 10 years, but because this is your calling, this is what you are called for, there's a greater sense of fulfillment that you get that even money cannot count. And when I was leaving work today, I actually told them that let me go and work for my legacy. And I picked that from, I know that Lawrence, you have been one of those that have reflected about the last days of the demise of our Prime Minister of the region, and a man that depicts purpose. Despite him not becoming a president, you can see purpose all written around his journey, his life, that right now we are saying, what a man who lived, what a legacy that this gentleman has left. And I believe that all comes from intentionality, understanding that you're called for more. It's not just about the seat. It's about being able to even forego for some of the benefits that somebody could take on, but say, I'm going to do this for the peace. I'm going to do this for the governance. I think that is really something that's awesome. So as you were sharing, there was a lot of reflection. And I believe whoever has joined through is trying to pick one or two things. It's very, 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 very sad for you to leave this world without having fulfilled the reason why you were created. And I think it's the system that has made us think that we're actually created to study, find a job, get children or get married, go for work, retire and die. I think that's not what life should be. I think there's a lot that each one of us has that we can really add value. So I just wanted to add a few comments on that. Really very insightful. So at this point in time, I want to take some questions. If you have a question, you can please raise up your hand and we'll give you an opportunity to be able to speak. But there's also chat box, and you can also be able to ask a question in the chat box. And there's already one question here from Mr. Amos, who says, what practical steps can you help a young manager like me avoid being driven by only income or position, but by purpose or service? How can I inspire my team also to find meaning in their work, not just see it as a job? So Lawrence, you can start with this question. Thank you.
Yeah, Amos, I have seen your question. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. Amos, I have seen your question. It's a very powerful question. What practical steps can help a young manager like me? I'm going to pick the word young, which tells me that you have a long runway ahead of you. That probably you are young enough. There's more years for you to come. How can we help a young manager like me avoid being driven only by income or position? Now, Amos, it is important for us to be ambitious. Income is good. You should actually be driven by income. You should be driven by ambition. But you should also have these things anchored in your purpose. In other words, what we're saying, Amos, is that at this young age of yours, you need to start finding out what your purpose is and actually clarify it. Write it down in terms of a purpose statement, a vision for your life that does not necessarily have to do anything with maybe your profession, unless it is something that is contributory. Remember our definition of purpose, something that is aspirational, it's transformational, it inspires action, something that you can do for free without necessarily having to look for money. If money was not the issue, you would spend the rest of your life doing it. If Bill Gates was your father and he can write for you any check, what would you spend the rest of your life doing? Now that becomes a semblance of your purpose. And you can find easily your purpose by looking at your capacity, the things that come to you easily, your capacity in terms of your natural gifts and your natural talents, and also your heart disposition. Where is your passion? What are you passionate about? And maybe the things that you've acquired in terms of skills. Now, there are some skills that you might have acquired that can help you to do a job which you hate. That cannot be purpose. You cannot be spending the rest of your life doing that. It is a weakness. Now, perhaps the easiest, the most immediate thing I can ask you to do, Amos, is to do a goal setting session for your life, not for your business, but for your life, using the wheel of life where you set goals for your business, your finances, your family, your relationships, your mind, your spirit, your body, and the others. Because that exercise is one of those exercises that starts making you to start thinking about purpose. And then once you get these things done, you have an idea of what you want to do with your life and what impact you want to do. Then you come back to your job and start doing the alignment. Is there any way that this job of mine marries with what I intend to do? And am I equipped to do that which I intend to do? If it doesn't, then you need to start asking, what can I do to be able to get to that particular path? How much time can I give myself? Can I give myself the next 5 years to start navigating towards that? You might find, by the way, Amos, that there are some jobs and some job titles that speak directly into what you might have written down in terms of your goals. But I'm not asking you to write down a job title. I'm asking you to write down a purpose statement. If you don't know how that is done, we are here to help, and we're going to charge you some dollars as far as that is concerned. There is a book written by a man called, I think, Kevin Hall. It's called Aspire. In that book, he tells a story of a man, a psychological guy, I think Dr. Gerald Bell. Dr. Gerald Bell did a research with guys who are 80 and above and so on, and he asked them what do they regret the most. And one of the things that they said is they regretted never doing their purpose earlier or writing their goals and living with their goals earlier. So start aligning. Remember, Amos, this is not an event. This is a process, it's a journey. But again, our friend Elon Musk said, if you must do something for 6 years, it will take you 6 years. But if you wanted to do it in 6 days, it will also take you 6 days. So find a way of balancing that philosophy. How do you inspire your guys who are working under you to be purposeful? Unfortunately, Amos, probably you might not. Because the number one reason as to why most people are working is for the paycheck. They have to do their own, unless, Amos, unless the work they do is somehow connected to their purpose and they feel it in their hearts. The best you can be able to do, I've worked with very many teams, and most of the teams I've worked with, I've always told them, I don't want to see you here in 2 years. I built a team at MTN, over 100 guys, and I used to tell them, I don't want you to be here doing territory management in the next 2 years. I was pricking their thinking and telling them that you are more than where you are. There is much more to life than where you are, unless, of course, you've already clarified that that is where your purpose is. Amos, you'll know sooner or later. Most of the guys that you're working under or they're working for you, they will leave or you will fire them for one reason or another. So purpose is a personal thing. It's at an individual level. It should be approached at an individual level. That's all I can say for now, as far as that is concerned.
All right, that's a great response. Thank you, Lawrence. Maybe just also to add, there was a scenario where, and I keep on writing about this, that I had to let down a role in another company that was paying me more than 50% in addition to what I was earning, because I didn't find my purpose aligned with the organization. And I'll give you an example. Like this was an organization that was in gambling. And I usually feel that every time I put my hands anywhere, it should be an environment that adds value to my purpose or my calling. So I didn't feel connected to that organization and had to let down the opportunity. And this is not even the first thing that has also happened. There's even a time I worked, I took on a role, and this was actually after something I found out. I took on a role in a tobacco company. And I tell you, I struggled waking up every day to go and work for that organization. There's a time where I would sit down and say, so I'm here to add more cigarettes in the market for something that I do not believe in.
Yeah.
And that alone got me to a zone of prayer, being able to rethink because they're paying very good amounts of money, but I realized the energy, whatever pulls me to that job, was not really coming through. So I had to spend a year and I resigned to find another job. So purpose is a very big aspect when it comes. Right now, for every organization I am going for, I'm asking myself beyond just the paycheck, because we work in environments where your salary may be increased after 2 years and you have increasing costs. You have a huge burden in terms of meeting. The promotions are not assured as they should come through. But like, what keeps you going even when there's no promotion? Like, what is that thing that is going to keep you grounded to be able to still deliver if at all you're not getting a salary increment? So all those things I think are very important. Being able to understand what are you called for and what is that in terms of your purpose. I left one organization. I was working in the NGO world, and I now moved into professional services, which Lawrence, I think, also is working for. And many people questioned my move, but the reason why I made the move was because I knew that my purpose, 10 years, 20 years to come, has to be in this kind of field. So I was willing to pay the price of me jumping from the comfort zone to go and pursue a career in the professional services firm, because this aligns with what I regard as my purpose, my calling. So one of the things that I've come to learn, Lawrence, is that in your journey to finding your purpose, or even aligning your purpose and developing and pursuing it, there's a price to pay. And you need to continuously seek to understand what kind of decision am I taking right now. So I just wanted to share this. So with Amos, so it's more around getting down to understand what am I putting my time to. But even for your team to also get down to understand why are they even working for the organization? I think that's a very big question that managers need to ask their team members. Get them into a conversation and ask them the question deeply. Why are they working for the organization? And once you're able to understand their why, then you're able to support them accordingly, because some of them might be there because the workplace is near their home, or they may be there because their father worked in the same place, so they feel it's an aspect of legacy. So there's a lot of reasons why people work in various environments. So understanding that why is very important for you and your team members. Yeah. So there's a hand from Mr. Alex. So Alex, you can ask your question, then we'll go to the comment section.
Good evening. Are you getting me, Samuel?
Yes, we can hear you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you for this insightful topic, and thank you for bringing my countrymen. You brought a very important issue, especially for the late Prime Minister of Kenya. When you look at his life, he seems to be a man who had a purpose, because previously, even before plunging into politics and changing the landscape here in Kenya, he had been put in prison for a very long time, but he came out very strongly, moved on, and even shaped the country. My question to our speaker today is how do I connect and have a sense of belonging where I am working, to align with my purpose beyond the paycheck?
All right. Thank you so much, Alex, for that question. I believe that Lawrence has taken note. And greetings to the people of Kenya. And glad that you've also made a reflection on that. Hopefully, Lawrence will give a comment in that regard. Yes, I think you can. There's another question from Dora. I don't know if you want me to read, or can first answer the first question.
Read for me Dora's question.
Okay, Dora's question says, thank you, Mr. Lawrence, for the wisdom you've shared with us. I believe I did really find my purpose, which is starting a non-for-profit organization. However, the moment I have to juggle it with work, study, and as well as my purpose, because I cannot quit. Yet, how can you advise me such that I do not lose track? And I think that is a very, very important thing, Lawrence, that purpose takes time to pay. And like you've mentioned, there are ways where you can monetize your purpose, but it may not be at the same level at which the profession world may be able to reward you. So Dora's question is around, how do you balance that desire for what you're called for without having to lose track? Over to you, Lawrence.
Right. Thank you so much, Alex. Is Saka your real name, or is a name you're picking from some Englishman? Alex. Okay, Alex, I wanted to find out if you actually go around to hear my answer for your question.
Yes, I'm around. It is a real name. I think the other one is the one who took our name, eh?
That name is Kenyan. I didn't know, but
Yeah,
it's
it
okay.
is Kenya. Yes, yes, it's a Luya name.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Wow. I hope you support him, because if you don't, it's a shame. Anyway, let's answer your question. How do you connect and have a sense of belonging at the workplace? Now, Saka, the entry level of most of us in our workplaces, it is seldom. You saw the polls today, right? The poll that we asked, what was the question again, Samuel? It was about the career that the careers that we've taken. Yes, there it is. Look at the question number one. The question itself is, what was the primary reason you chose your current career path? Look at this. The last answer is 18%. I felt a strong sense of purpose or calling. As in, very, very few people go into their workplaces because of purpose and because of their calling. We go there for the most part because my girlfriend has got to eat, my wife has got to eat, I've got to put food on the table, I've got to pay bills, man's gotta be a man. We go there for the paycheck for the most part. And sometimes we go there for a job title. So remember when we showed you this graph of I've forgotten where it was. I showed you this graph of these strategic people and so on and so forth. When they're employing you, these strategic people, how often do they ask you a purpose-related question for their organization? For the most part, what do they want? They want to know, can you execute? Can you deliver? Do you have the necessary skills to deliver? Do you have the aptitude? Do you have the attitude itself to deliver? That is, for the most part, what they're looking for. So you find yourself, yes, you're there to work for a paycheck, but there is a disconnect. In fact, by the way, when I was working with MTN, let me say for MTN, because I wasn't working inside MTN. MTN is a massive organization with a massive vision. But if you met a guy at tactical level and asked them, what is the vision of MTN? They wouldn't know. So in my opinion, Alex, what you need to do, first of all, you are ground zero. It is you who needs to know what matters to you in life, in terms of your career, in terms of your purpose, in terms of meaning. What is it that matters? Secondly, once you've determined your ground zero, what matters, regardless, if I was Uhuru Kenyatta, I would say, irregardless, irregardless of what your job title says, irregardless of what your organization that you work for says, don't create your ground zero with that bias. What am I saying? Your purpose might not necessarily be where the organization is or what the organization is doing. So first of all, find out what it is. because you might want to connect and have a sense of belonging to an organization that doesn't align with your purpose. And it is not sinful actually to work for an organization that doesn't align with your purpose. It is a journey. It is part of the journey. You can start there. So if the purpose that you've written down or you've clarified for yourself is somehow within the organization, then the second thing you ask yourself is, my role, the work that I do on a daily in this particular place, is it aligned to my core purpose? Does it bring joy to my work as I am working there? If it doesn't, then you need to ask yourself the third question: is there a role within this organization that I can take up or I can add and I can start gravitating towards in the same organization or in its branches? That is how you do it. And the guys at the strategic level, do they know what matters to me? How are they going to know? They are going to know by you knocking on their doors and telling them what matters to you. I have a story to tell you about that, but I don't have time. I know I was working in Kenya. I was working for an organization that was working with Safaricom, and I was working as a data analyst. And what I was doing was so obscure, 54 places down the pecking order if they wanted to promote. I was 54 places down the pecking order. But I saw in me things that I could be able to do other than the responsibilities of my job description. So I started knocking on the boss's door and say, give me this to do, give me this to do. I can do leadership, I can lead. It goes into the consciousness of the boss that this guy is not just here for the job description. And sometimes I have seen some bosses, they can start opening doors for you, and they can even start looking for opportunities elsewhere for you to be able to do it. If you want to connect and have a sense of belonging at that place, make sure that it is aligned to your work. I mean, to your purpose, first of all, Alex. That is the most important thing. If there is no alignment, then you shouldn't even be looking for that sense of belonging. A sense of belonging normally comes to us because of meaning. It matters to me, therefore I am here. How many times have we been in organizations where we curse the organization, but we just go there so that we can be able to draw a salary? You're like, Lord, I don't want to be here. Give me another place. You don't want to resign because you know you're not going to have money at the end of the month. So don't look for a sense of belonging don't look for a sense of belonging unless it matters to you. The mission of the organization matters to you. So if you are Raila Odinga, for example, what matters to you? Freedom, justice. Those are the things that matter to you. So you will not find yourself comfortable in a place where there is no freedom and justice being espoused. You don't even want to belong there. So start from ground zero and clarify yourself. What is my purpose? Dora, there is no right or wrong answer as far as that is concerned, because I know your context can vary from one place to another. First of all, congratulations for finding that you want to do a not-for-profit. There are very many answers we can be able to give you, but the very first thing that I'm going to tell you is this: you need to plan. Sometimes we get into so much pressure because we haven't planned. And you need to plan, find a way that you can juggle all these things, that they remain relevant every working day. Probably another thing that I can say, Dora, is sometimes people normally find men or women of like minds and like passions that want to do the same thing for their lives. That is one of the biggest things to be able to do. If you can find someone else who can start running with it, or the two of you, the three of you can start doing it, it lessens the burden. But if it's just you who is doing it alone, then the thing that you've got to do strategically is to plan. And I'm glad that you're also going to school. I have a lot to say about school because sometimes we go to school to do things that are not connected to our purpose. We go to school to do things that are going to connect us to our promotion, which in my opinion, you shouldn't. In my opinion, the learning that you need to be doing should be the learning that increases your capacity so that you can be able to serve your purpose better and align yourself into it. So balance those things by planning thoroughly. The president of the United States of America, called Abraham Lincoln, he said, if I am given 6 hours to chop down a tree, I am probably going to use 4 hours to sharpen my axe. That 4 hours is the plan, the strategic plan. Put everything down and clearly plan all these things before you can go. That's all I can say.
All right, great insights there, and thank you so much, Lawrence, for those elaborative responses. Just finding out if we have any other question from any of our people, but I think at this point in time, I want to call you to share your closing remarks and also how people can find you. I think our audience would love to connect with you. Lawrence Namale is on social media as Lawrence Namale. So feel free to connect with him.
All right. I was sharing something on the screen. I was hoping that it is going to show my details. But even as we do this, allow me to say the following, that I am so excited that you people took some time where you could be elsewhere right now doing some other things, but you took some time to come here and deliberate about your life, deliberate about your purpose. Excuse me, just to tell you this, that to reiterate what I've said, I've shared, contrary to popular belief, your purpose is not something that is going to appear today. Your purpose is actually a journey that you take. It is a long journey that is divided into 3. First of all, know what it is. That is what we talk about clarifying what it is. If you don't know how to clarify it, start by asking questions, reach out to as many people as you can. Reach out to us. We have volumes and books and manuals and courses you can be able to take. There are actually some free courses out there you can be able to take. Secondly, the purpose is about ownership. Identify yourself with it. And lastly, the purpose is about deploying. Do it. Let us see you doing it. Let us see you speaking. Let us see you doing that work that matters to you. It takes time. Don't be discouraged because money is not coming. Like I've told you guys, you're blessed already because you are earning something today. You have a paycheck. A paycheck is one of the most powerful friends for people who are discovering their purpose because it helps you to mitigate some things. Use that paycheck properly and allocate some of it towards your purpose. Give your purpose some decades, 2 decades, at least 3 years working consistently on it daily before you can start seeing the results. Otherwise, purpose doesn't make you a retiree, but your paycheck has an end date. Find some ways that you can be able to create some streams of income with that particular paycheck. But most importantly, find a way to make your purpose come alive. If the purpose is going to come alive at your place of work, do alignment. If it's not going to come alive at your place of work, do planning for the future. Thank you very much. You can find me on lawrence.namale@gmail.com. On Twitter, you can look at @namale, or my number is there on the screen that you can be able to call if you needed further assistance. Otherwise, I am glad to have been here, to have been able to share my insights with you guys. I don't take it for granted. Samuel, you're doing a great job. Let us continue transforming this world every Friday. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lawrence, and thank you so much, everyone that has showed up here, and you've done justice to the subject. I believe that we've learned one or two things. Friends, feel free to share your reflections on the WhatsApp group. You can also make a post and tag Lawrence, share one or two things that you've learned from the session. And I believe together we can do greater things. I just want to invite my brother David Asanga to just give a few comments and also just share about our upcoming mentorship. David Asanga, are you there? Are you able to speak? All right. All right. As David Asang comes through, I want to remind those that are interested in our upcoming mentorship on public speaking.
Okay.
Please join through accordingly. Yes, Mr.
Okay.
David.
Yeah, thank you, Coach Samuel. I was muted. Wow.
Sorry.
This has been powerful. Thank you, Coach Lawrence. Wow. Good to see you after how many years? Wow. Friends, I
Good to
want to
see
tell
you.
you that Coach Lawrence is a deep man. He's a deep man, and he has been so passionate about purpose. When we met, he's a preacher of purpose. And if you are with him and you have not found your purpose, I think you need some chibokos. Anyway, just joking. Thank you, Samuel, for inviting him. Wow, to bring him out. He's a very powerful man. Wow, this has been very insightful. There's no overdose of purpose. In fact, it's just fresh, like we have not had it before. And for some of us, especially this generation, we are just working for paycheck rather than for purpose. Thank you, Coach Lawrence. I can't thank you enough on behalf of Samuel. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, the public speaking mentorship is just is it 2 weeks to come, and we are inviting everyone who is very passionate about speaking and growing in their communication and finding their purpose. Yeah, when it comes to speaking, like Coach Lawrence has said, he's a speaker, he's an author, and he's doing everything around that and not playing football. So please make sure you're there. We're going to have a nice time. It's going to be a deep dive into public speaking, communication, and what you need to do to become not just an ordinary speaker, like they gave us the pools of transformation, impact, the different skills in your purpose, but to be an impactful, transformational speaker in communicating. So please don't miss on the 5th of November, just few days away. If you have not registered, please do so. The link is always sent on the WhatsApp group, and then try to reach out to us if you are struggling in making payments. We can see how to help you, considering that you're going to commit in the full payment. I think for members is 300K, and for non-members is about 400. So please, let's be available. That is what I can say for now. Thank you, Coach Samuel. You're doing great. You're doing great. You're transforming lives. Thank you for not being in the tobacco business. Otherwise, we wouldn't have found you this Friday. Okay, over to you, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. David Asanga. Always with humor. I think we are grateful for everyone who has come through the session, and we pray that the Lord will guide you in the process of the pursuit of your purpose. But for those that have not found their purpose, though, may God guide you as well as you also seek to understand your purpose. Thank you so much, Lawrence, once again, on behalf of the Transformation Professionals Club, the community of professionals that aspire to connect, learn, grow, and earn together. We are very grateful, and we look forward to even more insightful sessions and partnerships. Mr. Lawrence, as he mentioned, he's an author, so feel free to reach out to him as well. He could tell us, Lawrence, where can we get the book? I think it would be a very insightful for somebody who may want to understand. I think you
Yeah.
also shared about the other book of the men, so you could just comment on where we can find the book.
So at the moment, the book that I have is out of stock, but this one is available with me. It was at a restock, but they ran out of stock at a restock. So anyone who wants to read a book on purpose, this book is 75,000, not dollars, 75,000 Uganda shillings. And you just give me a call and I'll be able to make it available to you. And then for this one, for communication with your spouse, knowing how to communicate with your spouse, the seven personas that kill connection. Samuel, this one is actually an online course that we are still uploading. So once it is done, once it is ready, there's an option of getting the workbook separately. But once the online course is done, I am going to avail the link to your people and they can be able to access it from there. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. I think Mr. Alex Saka was asking how much in Kenyan shilling. I think you could just comment on that.
Alex, I'll charge you 2K Kenya shillings. Mtu wa Kakamega lazima uko na pesa.
Asante. Well done, and thanks everyone for coming through. I think at this point in time, it's the top of the hour. We want to thank so much our online audience, those that have tuned in through Zoom, and we also thank those that have joined in through YouTube, and even those that will catch the recording. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube, and feel free also to look out for Lawrence Namale on our social media platforms, and also listen to his great podcast, which is Life Signatures. I think you can find.
Sorry,
please.
Samuel, I forgot to mention about the podcast. If
Yeah.
you wanted to listen to, for free actually, the messages on purpose, on productivity, and on resilience, the podcast is available. It's called Life Signatures Radio. If you type it anywhere where you get your podcasts from, Life Signatures Radio, whether it's on, but it's not on Spotify, but it's on all the other Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Google Podcasts died, but it is on all the other podcast channels. You can be able to find it. We have over 2,000 episodes there. And there are some episodes, there are some messages that are in form of series. In other words, if you wanted something about personal branding, for example, you can go in there and you can find a series, maybe 50 episodes on that, and so on. I'm sure it can help you. There could even be some episodes that can help you to discover your purpose. So check it out.
All right. Thank you so much, Lawrence. I know there are quite a number of videos as well on YouTube. So search for Live Signature Radio via Google. You'll be able to see all those options coming through. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming through the session. From me to you, may God bless you. And until we meet the next time, Please reach out for the mentorship session that is coming up in case you're interested. Let's see how we can elevate ourselves in the area of communication and public speaking and connect it also to our purpose. This has been the Transformation Professionals Club, which is a community of global professionals that connect, learn, grow, and earn. We can find us on social media platforms as Transformation Professionals Club or TPC community. You can also find us on YouTube. And we also have a WhatsApp group. In case you want to be part of the WhatsApp group, you can be able to reach out and we'll be able to add you. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming to the session and may God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. God bless you.